So welcome, morning, thanks for attending. So my name is Clive Butkow. My background is I've always been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid. I then graduated with a BSc in computer science, maths and applied maths. I started out with a company called Arthur Andersen Consulting, which basically became Accenture, and spent some time in Silicon Valley building up a tech company. Came back and spent 28 years at Accenture, and head up many roles, many leadership roles, from heading up our technology business to become the CEO for the last 5-6 years of my career. And from there, I left there in the end of 2012. I then started a venture capital company, a tech venture capital company called Calon Venture Partners. We raised about $250 million, and I decided that I wasn't having fun at the end of 2023, and I left, and I started a new venture capital company called Conducive Capital. And I just do a lot of mentoring. I've invested in a whole lot of businesses, so I'm really a business builder. And what I want to do today is really share with you some of the lessons that I learned during my time, my 40 years of experience. I think, please, I want to make this not a dialogue opposed to a monologue. So please, if you've got questions, just put your hand up, stop me, just come out of mute and ask the question, and I will stop and take the question rather than leaving till the end. I'm not going to get through all the slides in an hour, but I'd rather discuss the questions you guys have got in your mind. So the agenda for today, the objectives really is it's just to increase your awareness of leadership traits. You can get a copy of the presentations. I'm going to talk about the mindset of a leader, the importance of emotional intelligence and soft skills, just some of the attributes of leaders, importance of working as a team opposed to as an individual. Leadership is always about winning the war for talent. You've got to have the best people around the table if you want to be successful, and then embracing the change agenda, which you might or might not get to. Next slide, Tracy. So the first port of call is mindset of a leader. So yeah, that's fine, Tracy. Next slide. So leadership is ability is the live. The growth and development of people is the highest calling of a leader. So the right people are your only true assets. Everyone says the right customers are your true assets, but I don't believe that. I believe the right people are your true assets, because if you've got the right people, they will get the right customers. If you've got the right customers with the wrong people, that you're going to lose those customers. So leadership is that lid that. It's about how well and how high you can actually climb. And if you look at the bottom point, everything rises and falls with leadership. Whether you're in business, whether you're a one-man show, you can still demonstrate leadership. You demonstrate leadership to your clients. You demonstrate leadership to the people that you come into contact with any journalists. So leadership is not about having a team under you. Leadership is about how you come across. And the first person you need to lead is yourself. You cannot be successful leading a team if you don't know how to lead yourself. You've got to become a leader, and then other people will hopefully follow you, and you'll be the leader of those people. Being in charge of people can make you a boss, but not necessarily a leader. If you've got a company with 5 people, you could be the boss, not the leader. You've got to advance yourself to be the leader from being the boss. And we'll talk more about the difference between a boss and a leader. Next slide, Tracy. So high-performance leaders, they always recognize that leadership is the most important advantage of every world-class organization. I've worked with hundreds of organizations. I've probably been involved in building 100 companies, and every time I've been successful is when there's been great leaders. Whenever I've lost money or the business has not climbed, it's when there's been poor leadership. So everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is that lid. There's a great comment that said, the fish rots from the head down. So if you've got a problem in the organization, typically you've got to look at the leaders and you'll see where the problem is. If people are leaving the organization, look at the leaders and you'll know why they're leaving the organization. And the comment below is one of the most important attributes of leadership is to admit their mistakes and take responsibility. It's absolutely essential. And I really find it quite disappointing how few leaders in South Africa and the companies that I'm involved in are ever prepared to take responsibility and just say, look in the mirror, that's where the problem is. I'd rather look out the window and say, there's your problem. Look at everyone else and say, they're the problem. But it's not the problem. At the end of the day, if you're not performing well, you're the leader who picks your team. You're the leader who decides what's going on. So at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for everything that happens in the organization. Don't blame someone else. Take responsibility. You'll learn and grow, and you'll make sure you get it better next time. And people will look up to you as a leader when you start taking responsibility opposed to blaming other people. If there's any questions, please stop me now. Else, Tracy can give us the next slide anyway. So a high-performance leader recognize the growth and development of people is the highest calling of a leader. I've already said the people are your only true assets. And high-performance leaders bet on people, not strategies, and recognize that people are the only sustainable competitive advantage. You can have the best strategy in the world with the wrong team, you're not going to implement the strategy. You can have the worst strategy in the world with the right team, and they're going to fix up your strategy and they'll actually deliver it. So again, it comes down to having the best team on the planet. Whether you're a 2-people show or 5,000 people, you need the best team on the planet at every single level. Tracy, next slide. So we're going to talk about soft skills. We can talk about emotional intelligence, the importance of emotional intelligence on leadership. Next slide, Tracy. So soft skills will have a positive impact on your bottom line. Now, we all know everyone's got a different definition of emotional intelligence, but there are individuals who have great businesses and technical skills, but can't develop and inspire and lead people. And people that can demonstrate they can develop and lead people are your real leaders. They have the EQ and understand, they have self-awareness, they have team awareness, and they're able to not only understand their emotions, they're able to understand the emotions of the team. And Jack Welch said that people without EQ and soft skills are not going to make it to the top. That's just the bottom line of what I've read from building so many companies. You can have great technical skills, you can be a great person, you can have passion, you can have everything else, but you're just not a great leader. People do not follow you. That you might do what you say because you're the boss, but they're not doing what you say because they trust you as a leader. So that soft skills are so critical. Next slide, Tracy. Sorry, I am going fast because there's a lot of slides I want to get through. So EQ is not IQ. Emotional quotient and your EQ, emotional intelligence, are two totally different things. EQ may be the best predictor of success in life, learning what it means to, redefining what it means to be smart. You don't have to be intellectually clever. A lot of people I work with, who are the CEOs of companies, are not the guys who are top of their grades. They didn't get the A's and the B's. You know, they got the C's and the D's. But what they are, they're great leaders. So it doesn't mean because you've got a high IQ, it'll make you have a high EQ. In fact, it could be the other way around. A lot of people that are good leaders are actually not very good intellectual people, but they're good leaders, and they know they need to hire the best IQ around the table, and those are great leaders. So IQ, the bottom comment there, IQ gets you hired, and EQ gets you promoted. And I saw this when we had 2,500 people in Accenture that basically reported to me. It really was the people that reported to me were the guys with the highest EQ. Where's the guys with the highest IQ? So when you get hired, it's very difficult to determine EQ. So you hire an IQ and you promote an EQ. I see Ben has got a question. Ben, do you want to just come off mute and show your face, and then we can take your question?
Sure. Yeah, so there's actually 4 questions. I was going to let you present a little bit just to see, but yeah, just from a top perspective. Yeah, as far as recommending how to find the right people around the table. So a little bit of background, where I've done a lot of stuff, but how do you actually find those right people? I mean, I've spoken to guys that feel like, yeah, I'm game, I'm keen, let's go, but nothing really materializes. Obviously, those are the wrong people, but that's a hindsight thing. How do you find, or what traits does one look for pre-discussion, I guess, that one could say, well, you're a valuable dude?
Yeah. Let me ask just quickly, Ben. I mean, that is a great question because there's no absolute answer to your question. Hiring is one of the hardest skills, and that comes with experience. What I look for is number one, coachability. I call it the 5 C's. They've got to be coachable, because they're not coachable. They're going to do their own thing. They want to do what they think is right. They'll never listen to anyone else, and they're going to do their own thing. That's number one. Number two, they've got to have good communication skills. You know, anyone in your team has got to be able to communicate up, down, sideways. You've got to communicate where people can understand you. I've just seen too many clever people that just cannot communicate. So the ideas are never really understood by the people because they just don't know how to communicate. The number three thing is I think they need charisma. You know, they don't have to be extroverts, but they need to have charisma that they can win the trust of other people. They need to have absolute commitment, the commitment to do what is right, the commitment to never give up. They are, whether they're entrepreneurs in a small company, whether they're in a big company, they have that commitment. They never give up. They keep on going. Number five is curiosity. You know, I want leaders that, and we talk about listen, learning, and leading. I want people that I hire that want to grow and develop. They want to learn and learn and learn. And that's why they want to surround themselves with great people so they can keep on learning, keep on growing, and they're curious. You know, you give them a job. I remember when I was at Accenture, and people would come and say, I need someone to help doing A, B, and C. And I would just put my hand up and say, yes, I know A, B, and C. And I knew nothing about A, B, and C, nothing. What I did when I went home, I learned about A, B, and C, and the next day I was an expert at A, B, and C. So that's what they got to do. They've got to put your hand up, and you've got to get out there and show that you want to be a leader. Show them that you're curious. Show them that you want to learn more and more, that you want to develop further and further. So I'm going to leave it there. I could talk a lot more about this topic, but that's how it's difficult, but that's the type of attributes I would look for in a leader before making a hire. And I think just the last thing, you hire for attitude and you train for skill. You know, too many people hire from a CV opposed to rather hiring and saying, what's the attitude like? Do they want to learn and grow? And that's the best person to actually hire, not the person who's got the best CV. That doesn't make you have the best person. I hope that answers your question, Ben. Ben, you still there? I think Ben got lost.
Why was I muted? I don't know what happened. Anyway, yeah, so there's 4 questions total. The first one was cool. 2 and 3 and 4, I'll just read quick, and then you could just answer short. I don't want to steal everyone's time. So yeah, from your degree, same degree as you, actually. So yeah, from your degree, how much was actually used in the beginning to get your stuff? Where did your ideas come from? Personal from my side, from my degree, I haven't really noticed that much necessarily usable skills. There's terms and conditions or a pinch of salt, if you will, to that statement. Obviously, research has helped. Obviously, you know, coding, math, understanding, that's all there. But real world, when I look at an actual developer or actually guys like that, it's not there. It's theoretical knowledge. 3 was EQ is good. Well, I think my EQ goes, my emotional quotient is good. You know, I'll walk into a restaurant, they'll remember me for 6 months, 8 months. You know, I won't even go back. And they'll be like, oh, you're back and you ordered this. And I would assume that that left an impression. So yeah, EQ is good. Companies, similar principle, etc. But how do you actually tell that your EQ is good? You know, I might be remembered, but come across badly. And the last one was, if you do VC funding or that, I do have my CC that I'm busy with. And if so, how do we contact you? Just for a chat, a discussion, a presentation?
Yes, I think, thanks, Ben. So just quickly, you can speak to the ORT team to get my details. So that's answers your last question. I think the first part of the question is, did my degree help me? Minimal, honestly, minimal, absolutely minimal. I think the degree, why we only hire degree people at Accenture is because it shows your problem-solving ability. You really can problem solve. That's what a degree is all about. Computer science, engineering is a problem-solving ability. So it shows you've got the ability to, you know, to really frustbite and get that degree. But when we were hiring people at Accenture, it wasn't about the degree. Yes, they needed to have an 80, 90 average. That was just a given. But we didn't hire the 80 to 90. They had to have leadership skills. They had to have been the coach of the soccer team. They had to have been on soldiers. They had to have been on this. They had to have been on that. That's why we hired people. It was actually more not so much about the degree. It was more what was not the degree, what they got up to. It just showed you that they could balance their time, that they saw the other things were just as important as getting the degree. So most of our hires we made, 99%, were not just about if they only just got a degree and they did absolutely nothing else, they weren't for us. We weren't going to hire them. We wanted all-rounders. We wanted clever people, but people that have done a lot more than that, and they demonstrated leadership skills. So that's how we hired the people, not necessarily from the degree. I think the last part of the question, the VC, yeah, just contact me. I'm trying to think the second last part of that question. What was that?
Recognizing emotional quotient.
Oh yeah, EQ is. I don't think someone remembering disrespect is EQ. They could remember you for all the wrong reasons opposed to the right reasons. So I think EQ is about being self-aware. It's about your control of your emotions. When you have a negotiation session, or you're with your spouse, or you're with someone that you have nearly have a bumper bash, that you don't lose your cool and you stay calm, and you can stay calm under pressure. You don't have to raise your voice. As Desmond Tutu said, he said, raise your argument, don't raise your voice. So that's is what I see as a good leader, having high EQ. Someone that can control their emotions. They can control their emotions on a one-on-one. They can control their emotions in a team environment. And it's so easy to lose your cool. It really is. And so I think that's a sign of someone with high EQ. But there's lots of other things as well. But it's not about someone remembering you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Was there another question there, or can I continue?
There is another question. There's a question from Yannick Jemba. He's thanking you for your presentation and your time, and he wants to ask, how does a one-man band build and attract talent as a leader?
I think when you're a one-man show, you lead through example. That's what you do. So you have to set the right example. People come and see what you do. They watch what you do, and they say, "Wow, this person's amazing. I want to work with it." They set a vision. They set a vision which they absolutely buy into your vision. Every company that is out there, whether it's Adrian Gore with Discovery, started with Adrian Gore. If I think back, essentially when I joined, there were 50, 60 people. When I left, there were 2,500 people. So you've got to start with a vision. If you're setting an entrepreneurial business or you want to hire people, remember, if you want to hire the best talent that's out there, which I've already mentioned that you have to hire the best talent, they can go anywhere. The best talent have got choices, but they want to go to you. So if you don't set the right vision and don't show the right leadership, and you can't sell them your vision, you can't communicate clearly, you don't see like you're coachable, all the things I spoke about a few minutes ago, you're not going to attract the best people. You're going to attract the B team, who's going to attract the C team, and eventually you'll become a bunch of bozos. You'll have the Z team. So you have to always be the stupidest person in the room. I remember when I was hiring, I was not the brightest guy in the room. I'll be honest with you. Obviously, I was intelligent, but when I hired people much smarter than me. And they made me extremely successful because I knew who to hire. And they had IQ, they had EQ, and they had everything like that. But I also made lots of mistakes in hiring. Believe me, the key lesson here is hire slowly and fire fast. Don't rush the first person you see and go and hire them. Rather see 10, 20 people and then see who the best of those 20 people are. But if you make a mistake, get rid of them. Because mainly when you're more than one person, or you're 2 people, 10 people, everyone else knows there's a weak link in the chain and you've done nothing and you're seen as a poor leader. One of the C's I never said was courage. You need the courage to not only hire people, you need the courage to fire people. If you've made a mistake, either find another role for them in the company or you get rid of them. You have to do that. And it's one of the hardest things to do is fire people. But that's what leaders do. Leaders do the right things, not the popular things. And too often I see people think they're the leader because they've done popular things. Popularity doesn't make you a leader. It makes you a cheerleader, not a leader. So hopefully that answers that question, whoever asked the question. Okay, great. Let's continue. Tracy, next slide. So, I mean, I think I've already said it, that EQ is a more determinant of success than IQ. So I'm not going to go and just the bottom thing is, as a leader with a high EQ, you always treat someone like they've got a sign around their neck that says, make me feel special. Because, it's unbelievable when you, in public, when you actually say to someone, Neil, Clive, Karen, whatever, you've really done well and well done. I'm really proud of you. You say that in a public forum. It just makes the person feel unbelievable. Always treat someone like they've got a 10 around their neck. And if there are problems, you praise in public and you criticize in private. So if there is a problem with someone and you need to help them and coach them and be diplomatic how you deal with it, you do that in private. You never, ever, ever criticize someone in public. And you even see some of these listed companies today where you see them actually criticizing their team in public. You never do that. You will lose respect. You will not be seen as a leader. So that's the thing about leadership. you know, when you're a leader, when you're on top of an organization, everyone is watching you all the time. They're watching what you do, they're watching what you don't do, and they're learning from you. So if you do the wrong things, they'll think, okay, that's cool. If you're lying on your timesheet and putting a couple of extra rand into your claim, they're watching you, they're seeing that, and they're going to do exactly the same thing because they believe you're the leader and it's acceptable. So you've got to know you're being watched all the time, 24/7. You are being watched, and if you're not behaving yourself and doing what a leader does, they're going to copy you, and you're just going to become a very, very poor boss. You're not going to be the leader. Okay, any other comments on this, or Tracy, can we move on? I just want to talk about some attributes of leaders quickly. Tracy, move on. So high-performance leaders, they don't create followers, they create more leaders. That's the key thing about it. If I look at my success in everywhere I've gone, it's never about hiring people below me. It's hiring people that could be better than me. Maybe they weren't the leaders that I were then, but I was going to coach them. I was going to help them become better leaders. So you need to hire, if you want to grow a big company, you can't just hire followers. You've got to hire leaders. And that's the greatest contribution of a leader, is to make other leaders, is to grow other leaders. You don't want to grow followers, because that's sure, if you're growing followers and you're hiring people that are just going to be followers, you are showing that you're not a great leader. You're showing that you're probably insecure. The best thing a leader can do is make themselves irrelevant, make themselves redundant. If I used to do that all the time. I just had a leadership role. I did really well. So one of my guys took over and I became redundant. So I took a bigger role in the company, and then a bigger role, and a bigger role, until I was having, this $4.5 billion business that I was the CEO of. So that's what you have to do. And I think the bottom comment is very important. All leaders, and I see it so often, when someone else is given a great idea, they come up and they want to get they take advantage of that, and they want to get the credit for someone else's idea and say, it was my idea. And they don't just say, no, it wasn't your idea. It was actually A, B, and C's idea. That's a leader. So anything is possible as long as you don't worry about who gets the credit, what Albert Einstein said. And there's too many people that think they're leaders or take the credit for someone else's work. And I can see it. I see straight through it. And it's just, I lose confidence and respect and trust of that person because I realize they're not a leader. All they're out for is about themselves. It's not about other people. And leaders are about building other people. It's never about themselves. Any questions, or next slide?
No more questions. Thanks, Clive.
Sorry, was that a question?
No, there's nothing else in the chat.
Okay. So the most essential attributes of a leader are integrity and character. So your reputation is everything. So I spoke to you how people are always watching you. So you can be competent without character is worthless. And one of the other C's is character. You can have, when I look at hiring people, I look at the three, what I call E's, even though integrity is not an E. It's having the edge, be able to energize people. So you have the right character and you need to have the right integrity. So if you haven't got the right integrity, others are absolutely worthless. Because without integrity, you've got no character. No one's going to respect you. So you have, as I said again, people are watching what you do, and particularly with integrity. If they see you haven't got integrity, you're either going to walk out the door or they're not going to join you. One of the two. But you need to, a leader creates an environment in which great ideas can thrive. If you as a leader are always taking ideas, you're always talking and you're never listening, no one's going to come up with any ideas. So that's a very, very important part of this attribute of a leader, is that they don't come up with all the ideas. They listen to other people's ideas and say, wow, that's a great idea. They might come up with the right idea, but it doesn't mean because you're the leader and you've got rank, every idea that you come up with is the one that will be adopted by the company. You have to listen to the junior people. You have to listen to your reportees. They might have much better ideas than you. Sorry, Ben, you had a question there?
Yeah, so a little bit of background on my side. So in my company that I'm in cybersecurity, hacking, but I run an entire department, red team, for those that know or don't know, on my own. So how does one become redundant in a position like that where there's no one to really delegate to, assign to? I can hand it over to AI nowadays, I guess, but it still needs input. So how does one move from that position to something greater if one can't necessarily become redundant?
Well, I think you have to go and speak to your boss, whoever you report into, and say to them, this is what leaders do. And so I really would like to take on a bigger role. I'd like to see myself in that that sort of role. I recognize I can't do it now because I'm the only person. Please, can you just help me with another person? Let's put a junior person under me. I'll train up the junior person to take over my role. And maybe we can start part-time. I can take a bigger role. And when that junior person's ready, you take on a bigger role. You've got to be proactive because you're right. You're not going to be able to make yourself redundant if only one person in your red team. That red team's got to be bigger. And you have got to try and find a junior person that's not going to cost too much money, but that you can train into your role. And it's what I did all the time. You don't need to have people under you to demonstrate leadership. You demonstrate leadership upwards, downwards, and sideways. So you can do sideways or upwards here and go and speak to them and say, please, I need to get a junior person, or even a part-time person initially. They can actually fill your role. You make yourself redundant and you move into a bigger role. I hope that answers your question.
Most certainly, thanks.
But what you can't do, Ben, you can't sit back and do nothing because it will never change.
Yeah, okay,
Because,
cool. Thank you.
The problem is everyone's comfortable with you sitting there. You're doing a good job. Let Ben stay in that job. 5 years down the line, you're still going to be having this conversation. So you become a specialist. You've got to become a generalist. You know that you know a lot of things about. You know a lot about it, or you know a little about a lot of things, opposed to us being a cybersecurity expert. Because you're probably a cybersecurity expert, and it's very convenient for the company just to keep you in that role because you're doing a good job. You're a specialist, but you're only going to get to a certain level, and then you're going to stop growing. You can't grow beyond what someone else they can hire to do your job.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Okay, Tracy, next slide.
Now we have another question.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Destiny. Is being a democratic leader more good than bad?
I don't think there's a good or bad about it. You know, I would always say it depends on the state of the organization. If the organization is in big trouble, really big trouble, you're going to need someone that's going to be not democratic. They're going to have to be quite autocratic in a way because the company's in trouble. You can't just listen to everyone's ideas. You've got to, a leader makes decisions and they're decisive. So if you're in a company that's in real trouble, I think you need a more autocratic leader. If you're in a company that's doing really well and wants to grow and thrive, I think a democratic leader is exactly the type of leader. But at the end of the day, the leaders also still got to make those decisions. They can't let someone else make the decisions on their behalf. If there's 10 ideas, they've got to say, you know, go to their team and say, come back with not 3 problems, come back with 3 potential solutions and let them come up with that solution. So I hope that makes sense. More democratic when the business is in good shape, more autocratic when the business is in serious trouble and you need to turn around. Then it's going to be a more autocratic leader. Does that make sense? I see you. I didn't get a response there that answered the question, but anyway. Sorry, Odette, you had a question? I didn't pick it up there.
Yes, must I say it or read it? Please, what do
you live and we can hear you nicely, so just ask the question.
Please, what do you think of a person in a coaching position saying, this is babysitting work and I'm not a babysitter and I don't want to do it?
So you're a coach in an organization or you're external coach or you're in the organization?
Within the organization, someone who should be mentoring, you know, being more hands-on, saying that, you know, this is not for me. You know, they want to sort of like say, well, you can work from 8 till 5, just get the job done. Just get the job done and come back to me. Doesn't want to show up at the job itself at all.
So you're talking about someone in the company, not talking about yourself?
Yes, I'm talking about somebody in the company. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think you have to look at the person's credentials. And if they are just doing, you know, children's work and they're coaching other people and it's not really growing them and growing their career, I think you have to help them as the leader. If they're reporting to you, you have to help them find someone else over time that's going to replace them. Because if they really can deliver at a higher level, if they can, it's a big if they can deliver at a high level, it makes sense. To hold them back doesn't make sense. If they're just kidding themselves that, you know, that is how high they can achieve and they're not going to achieve more, well, I think you've got to have a very, very frank discussion with them about you know, their role in the organization. Maybe it's moving them into a different role. Maybe they've reached their ceiling and they're not going to go any higher. But that's something you as a leader have to, you know, you have to make that assessment. Because if they can deliver at a high level, well, then they shouldn't be babysitting and coaching, kids, whatever it is. I'm just exaggerating. They should be able to get the opportunity over time to take on a bigger role. Because that's how you grow an organization. Everyone must grow into bigger roles, unless they're not fit for it. Because some people are very good at a certain role, but you actually can't take on a higher role. And then they've reached their peak. And then you have to say at some stage, maybe you need to look at changing your work address.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, next slide. Sorry, can you just go back a slide, Tracy? Sorry, I didn't realize you moved it. I think just quickly, leaders have got to be visible. You can't be an invisible leader. If you are leading a team, you've got to be out there talking to the people, understanding what's happening. So you understand if there's any challenges, any issues. The only way you're gonna uncover that is that you go and speak to your people. You've got to talk to them. That's how you gain respect of your people. At the end of the day, a leader is someone that is trusted, and you've got to earn trust. You don't get trust because you're the leader. You earn trust and confirm that you're actually a leader. So you can't lead by remote control, and there's no substitute for personal visibility. As I said initially, listen, learn, and lead. Listen to your people. Learn from your people, and then lead them. Don't just say it's the way it's been done here for 50 years, that's the way we do it. Listen to them, understand what their concerns are. Don't give them the answer. If someone came into my office and said, there's a problem, I'd say, well, come back to me when you've got 3 solutions. Came back to me with 3 solutions, him or her. We discussed them. I said to them, well, which one do you think is the right one? They gave me an answer, and 95% of the time they had the right answer. So that's what I did. I never actually, babysat them, that gave them the answer. I let them work out the answer. And over time, they stopped coming to me because they realized they were very trustworthy and they actually had the answers. So if your actions, leadership is about action. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing. It's not entrepreneurship, it's action. You can't learn leadership by not being out there and leading. You can't learn leadership like you're trying to ride a bike and you're trying to learn how to ride a bike in a classroom. You got to get on the bike, you got to fall off, you got to scrape your knee, and that's how you learn how to ride a bike. That's how leadership is as well. It's about action. You got to inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and you'll become a better leader. So it's always about action. Just think about that. You can't just become a leader with just sitting in an office, closing your door, and thinking that you're going to be a leader. Next slide, unless there's any questions. Gary, I didn't get the whole question there. Sorry, I'm not able to see the questions on my iPad here. Can someone just read out the question?
The question is there an ideal age to be put into a position of leadership?
So, they say I'm a big sports fan. If you're good enough, you're old enough. Simple. If you're good enough, you're old enough. If you look at some of these guys like, Facebook, they were 18, 19, 20. They ran this company and built the company. So age is not a determinant of leadership at all. Not at all. I mean, you see some captains of soccer teams at 20, 21 years old, and they're leading the team because they've demonstrated they're leaders. So, of course, you're going to learn more as you age. You're going to, some people get older and wiser. Some people just get older. So they don't get the wisdom. So there's absolutely no lid on the age to be a leader. You can be any age to be a leader. So don't ever think you're too young to be a leader or you're too old to be a leader. It's irrelevant. Leadership skills are age irrelevant. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. Any other questions? Sorry, I can't see anything there.
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, so continuous learning, everyone. You've got to keep on learning. I mean, I'm just fortunate that I'm a learner. I read every single night of my life. Before I go to bed, I read for half an hour, an hour. So I go through, if you just read for half an hour, you go through a book a week, you go through 52 books in a year. Just think about the skills you're going to develop in 1 year if you can read 52 books. And I just see so many people. I say, well, what's the last book you read? Oh, that was 15 years ago. I read some fiction book. So I don't do fiction. I just do nonfiction. And I read. And that's why I learn. Yes, I came from a computer science degree. I'm, a lot more mature than probably most of you, older than most of you on this call. But if you look at artificial intelligence, I've just started a company that's going to consult and do a service in artificial intelligence. Why can I do that? It's because I keep on learning. I've just finished 2 courses on Udemy on artificial intelligence. I've just done a course on LinkedIn. a course about how you use LinkedIn, how you use TikTok, how you use Instagram to market. I keep on learning, and this is the way I stay up and I stay there, and I can keep up with Gen X and Gen Z and the younger generation. I can challenge them when I invest in these companies. I've got lots of personal investments. I can challenge them, what about maybe doing it this way? And they say, how the hell do you know that? Because I've learned it. So I keep on leading and reading. So what I said, the leaders are readers and readers are leaders. You've got to be able to keep up with the technology. Technology is moving so fast today. So it doesn't matter what your job is. You've got to know AI. Everyone says AI is going to replace me. And yes, AI, people who know AI are going to replace the people who don't know AI. I'm going to repeat that. People that know AI are going to replace the people that don't know AI. So if you don't know AI, start learning, go into courses, start reading. Whatever you need to do, you've got to learn how AI can. You have to learn about how you use Perplexity or how you use ChatGPT or how you use on Anthropic. That's not the issue. It's what it can do. It's what these AI can do opposed to exactly how to do it. It's great to know how to do it, make no mistake, because you can be much more productive using AI. I use AI every day and it saves me hours and hours and hours by using AI. The last comment is treat every day like it was your last and learn every day like you will live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. Live every day like it was your last and learn every day like you'll live forever. So never stop learning. Leaders are readers. Readers are leaders. Okay, any comments or can I move on?
No.
Okay, so high performance leaders always make decisions. And there's two types of decisions you make as a leader, or even if you're not a leader, but there's two types of decisions. And this was made famous by the guys from Amazon. It's by Jeff Bezos. He calls it a one-way decision and a two-way decision. A two-way decision is you go in a door, make a mistake, go out the door, correct the mistake. Two-way decision. Just make it. Don't deliberate. Don't procrastinate. Just make the decision and move on. One-way decisions is where you come into the door and you can't get out. So I'm going to invest money from this, or I'm going to get married, or it's a big decision. You've got to think very, very clearly about this decision. So one-way decisions you've got to think about, and two-way decisions, just make them quickly and move on. If they're wrong, fix them and just make another decision. So that's what I mean by don't avoid making decisions. You're a leader, you have to make decisions. And you have to make tough decisions. Like I say, hiring, firing people, not hiring, but firing people are one of the toughest decisions you can make. Moving someone into a different part of an organization, giving tough feedback to someone, that's what leaders are able to do. So leadership is not about, and this is something that Simon Sinek said, if any of you know Simon Sinek, leadership is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. So it's not about being in charge, it's not about being the boss, it's taking care of those in your charge. So please remember that comment because that's very, very important. Okay, comments or can I move on?
No comments, Clive. Thank you.
Okay, so high performance leaders are generous. They always put the company's interest before their personal and organizational interest. That's what leaders do. They put other people in front of themselves. I spoke about this before. Look out the window and look for people that you can compliment. Don't look in the mirror for the people that can compliment. When you want someone to blame, look in the mirror. When you want someone to give credit to, look out the window and you'll see all your team. So, give credit to the team when things go well and take responsibility when things go badly. Tracy, next slide. So leadership is about influence, not position. Because you're in that position doesn't make you a leader. So to optimize performance, become their leader, not their boss. A boss has a title, a leader has the people. So remember, a boss has the title, the leadership leads the people and has the people. And the growth and development of people is the highest calling of a leader. If you really can grow people, you will just grow and grow and grow and grow yourself. That's what I did. That's what every single person I've seen leading is because they know how to grow people below them or on the side of them. They're always looking to grow other people. And they're not insecure about, I don't want to grow them because I'll take my place. That's not a leader when you're worried about your place being taken. That's just an employee and you'll never be a leader. So we can only really be in charge when you're willing to let others take charge. When we're letting others do what we're doing, then you're going to be a truly be in charge. So again, I'm going to repeat that. You can only truly be in charge when you're willing to let others take charge. If you're writing things down, you get this presentation, don't forget those words. Questions or Tracy, we can move on? Yeah, that's absolutely right. You have to grow your crops. You've got to be the farmer that knows how to grow the crops. If you don't know the weather conditions and everything else around them, and you can't grow your crops and they're going to die, well, that's exactly what a leader is going to do. A leader is like a tree. You know, a tree either, and I'll use the crop analogy, but I'll use a tree analogy. A tree is either growing or dying. It never stops and says, I'm good, that's it, I'm not going to grow. A tree is growing or a tree is dying. It's one of the two. It's the same as a leader, no different to a tree. So leadership is action, not position. People do what people see. I was saying before, they watch you, they learn from you, and they'll do what you do. So it's impossible to learn leadership without actually leading. And at the bottom, the example is not the main thing in leading either. It's the only thing. Leading with fear is not leadership. You have to not have fear. You can't let fear get in the way of making decisions. If you make a mistake, it's okay. It's nothing wrong with making a mistake, because if you never make a mistake, I'll be honest, you're never getting out of your comfort zone if you're never making a mistake. Failure is absolutely fine. Failure is acceptable to you as a leader, and you need to accept failure of your people. You know, fail fast, fail forward, and move forward and learn from it. Nothing wrong with that. But if you never fail, you're never getting out your comfort zone, and you're not demonstrating leadership. Tracy, next slide. So we talk about courage. You know, leaders make unpopular decisions. They're always candid and they deal with issues quickly and decisively and appropriately. And I said at the bottom there, Martin Luther King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. We would have seen this in politics today. We're seeing it in politics all the time in South Africa, unfortunately. And I'm not here to talk politics, but our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. This will happen in all the world wars. It's happened in all great companies that become poor companies. So very important comment that's being made there. Questions, or Tracy, you can move on?
No questions, Clive.
Okay, let's just talk about teamwork quickly. Build a winning team, winning the war for talent. Next slide. Tracy, next slide. Sorry, that's the cue. So talent wins games and teamwork wins championships. You know, they say there, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. So if you really want to grow a business, you need to field the best team. Just like those little ants there picking up this heavy piece of tree, they all do it as a team. So talent wins games about recruiting, building, and retaining the best team and continue investing in their growth. It pays dividends. So you need to continue recruiting the best people, building the best people, and retaining the best team. It doesn't help being a leader and you losing them. One of my companies has got a 47% attrition rate. And the leader keeps on blaming the team. No, it's an attitude. And I called him aside a few weeks ago. I said, excuse me, you are hiring correctly or you're not leading the people. 47% attrition. So every 2 people you're hiring, you're losing 1 every year. Is unacceptable. You can't grow a business like that. And this person was just blaming everyone else, not blaming themselves that they were recruiting incorrectly or they were leading incorrectly. And in all honesty, I believe it was both. They're not a leader. Unfortunately, they've got a 300 million rand company, but they've reached their lid. They can't go further than that. And people are just running out of the company because the leadership has gone. They don't know how to take this company from 300 to 400 to 500. And we're now in a position now we're actually replacing the CEO. Because the CEO is not a leader, not demonstrating leadership, and we need to bring in a professional CEO to actually run the company because this person has reached their peak in their career. We gave them lots of opportunity, but clear that they just can't do it. Okay, next slide. Again, if you've got any questions, pop them in the question. Your teamwork divides the effort and multiplies the effect. So just remember that. If the more you use as a team, you multiply how much you get out of it. And it divides the effort. There's always less work to do. And great groups perform better than people. One is too small a number to achieve greatness. Just seeing from the picture, the teamwork, the two animals are able to achieve. So leadership is not about, or high performance leaders, it's not about how they advance themselves, but how they advance others. If you advance others, you will be advanced. Other people will notice it and you will be advanced and you'll become redundant and take on a bigger role. So be what Nelson Mandela called a servant leader. Always look at other people. Always look at growing other people. Never look at yourself. And that's what the leadership of Nelson Mandela. And look at the leader he was. Tracy, next slide. High performance leaders recognize they can't fly solo, but we've spoken about that. If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. So the question is not whether you can do it alone. It's how long it takes you to realize you can't do it alone. You cannot build anything great alone. Nothing. It doesn't matter what you try. It's a sports team, if it's a business or whatever it is, you cannot do it alone. And even as a parent, if you bring up your children, you've got to show leadership to your children. It doesn't mean being their friend. It means being their parent. And that takes sometimes it takes some tough decisions. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so high performance leaders know what it takes to win. And there's nothing that's more important than winning than getting the right people on the park. Select the best team on the planet and you will win. And the best team on the planet, not the best individuals. You know, I'm a big soccer supporter. My team is Manchester United. They got some great players and they came 17th or 16th or 15th in the league because they couldn't play as a team. They're great individuals, but they can't play as a team. And great leaders recognize that not everyone can keep pace with the rest of the team. So to select the wrong person for a job is a common mistake, but not to remove him is a fatal weakness. I'm going to repeat that. Select the wrong person for a job is a common mistake. No problem making mistakes, but not to remove them is a weakness in the leader. It shows you that's not a leader. If you make a mistake, it's fine, but get rid of them. Sorry, there was a comment there was a question in the comments or a comment.
Basically, Destiny is saying, so collective performance is better than individual performance, even though the latter will guarantee you success faster.
As I said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. No one went far with other people. If you want to go fast and it's a short-term goal, go do it by yourself. But you'll never achieve greatness by yourself, ever. No one can. No leader can. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so these are little Russian dolls. So high-performance leaders select diverse teams. And South Africa is such a diverse country. We need diverse people, diverse backgrounds, diverse cultures, diverse skills, diverse ethnically. We need so much diversity because that actually what creates great teams. And that diversity brings fresh perspectives, new insights, and takes everyone out of their comfort zone. And avoid the Russian doll syndrome. Too many people I see hiring, they just hire smaller versions of themselves. So it's just like the Russian doll. You take the first version out, you see a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one. Because unsuccessful leaders or leaders that are insecure, all they do is that they hire smaller versions of themselves. They don't hire better than themselves. And that's how they're going to create greatness. They just hire smaller versions of themselves and they actually achieve nothing. Next slide, Tracy. So let's finally, the second last topic is talent management. Next slide, Tracy. This is about winning the war for talent. So people development's got to be integrated into everything you do. Every interaction, every conversation, every piece of work, they all are always opportunities to develop your people. As I said, everything you do is being watched. And winning the war for talent separates the good teams from the good companies from the great companies. You look at any great company that's doing well on the stock exchange, that's turned into a great company, they've got great people. You look at companies that were great and suddenly they're not great, they've probably lost their great people and they've turned into B and C team players and the company goes down the drain. And I've seen it myself when we've lost our great team. That's the end of the great company. I've got a great example now in a company I was working with. Had fantastic leaders. I was on the board and I was pushing it on the board. We were just flying. I left the board and unfortunately the leadership on the board that was left, and I'm not trying to blow my trumpet here, they basically knew there was a problem. They said nothing and the company's now gone out of business. It ran out of cash, companies closed down. I left 15 months ago. The company was absolutely flying, 50, 60 million in revenue, 120 million rand budget. 1.5 years later, they've just closed down. And that was just because people would not be honest with the executive team about what was going wrong in the company. And I wasn't looking to be popular. I was looking there to be right. And, popularity contest is not leadership. If you want to be popular, don't become a leader. You're just a team member. If you want to be sometimes leadership, you have to be unpopular because you're going to make unpopular decisions. Any comments on that? Next slide, Tracy.
Can I ask quickly? So it's two things. My question. First one is from an executive level. I mean, obviously, Red Team, me personally, I've got the technical stuff, I've got the guys that we speak on a technical level. But to the, and what I've seen in the industry in general, to the exco kind of guys, your manco, your esco individuals, what sort of information actually matters to them? Very broad questions. I'll give an example relate to my industry. So if there's a compromise in the environment, and you say like, look, this is going to affect 100,000 people. It's going to cost the company maybe R1 million, or 2 or 3. And they look and they're like, well, we make 100 million a year, we don't care because there's a 20% chance. Do you mean like, okay, I suppose I've answered the question in a sense, but like, how do you kind of convey that in a exco kind of context, to tell them that there's this vulnerability on the system or there's this issue, but they're like, we don't care, to fix it is too much effort kind of thing. How do you get exco to buy in to the risk, I guess, or to the context?
But I think the issue really is it's got to be, something that's substantial, that's going to make a difference. Number one, it's got to, if it's R1 million or 50,000 Rand on a R1 billion company, no one's going to care. It doesn't move the dial. So what? And it's a 20% chance of happening. But I think what you need to understand is what makes them tick. How are they measured, Ben? If you know how they measured, if they measured on cybersecurity threat happening and their bonuses at stake if it happens, believe you me, you need to communicate that. Look, put yourself in their shoes. EQ is about putting yourself in their shoes and understanding how they seeing what you say. So if they're getting measured that way, or they need to perform better, or they need to have higher uptime in your system and no cybersecurity threats, that's how you communicate it. Communicate in their language. What are their KPIs? Not your KPIs, not how you measure. It's how they measure. It's no different when you're selling something. It doesn't matter what you do. It's actually what your client does. Knowing your client enables you to put yourself in their shoes and sell. You're selling to them. That's what you're doing. You're selling this problem. You're selling this problem to make them do something. And if they do nothing, they're selling you. You're not selling them. You either sell them or they sell you. You're not selling them. You're not making it a big enough problem to them. So it's not so much how you communicate. The way you communicate is understanding what makes them tick. If they see this as a risk in their lives and their bonus and their money and their performance and their promotion, believe you me, they're not going to ignore you. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Yeah.
Tracy, next slide. Sorry, I haven't got the slides anymore. I've lost. I don't know why. Sorry, I've lost the slides. So I'm not sure what's happened here. Can everyone see the slides?
The screen sharing went off. Might have to just do the slide again or screen share again. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah. Tracy, I can't see that. Maybe you do have to just try and share the slides again. It seems like it's gone off for everyone.
I suppose while we're trying to troubleshoot that, if I can, well, Destiny mentioned, is it meaningful to be an excellent player despite, I couldn't see when the screen shared.
Sorry, just repeat yourself, Ben. I didn't see the comment or your question, because we basically run out of time. So I'm not going to worry about.
Is it meaningful to be an excellent team player? I think it's meant to be, despite being the leader.
Well, I think being a team player and being a leader is not synonymous with each other. So you absolutely have to be a team player. There's no question about that. You as I say, if you want to go, the team multiplies the effect or diminishes the effect and diminishes the effort and multiplies the effect. So yes, you have to be a team leader, but at the same time, because you're a team leader and a team player, it doesn't mean that you don't look for performance and you do exactly what a leader does. You need to be a team player, but if someone's not performing, you need to call them in and read them the right act. And if someone is performing, as I said before, you need to tell them in public how well they're doing. So it doesn't actually take away whether you're a leader or not. If you're a good leader is a team player, no question about that. But team players know when to give good and bad feedback. They know how to sell the vision. They know how to set the scene. They know how to problem solve. They know how to get the best out of their people. They know how to listen. They're much better listeners than they are talkers. They're not bad talkers, but they listen to their team. They listen to their people. They get the ideas of the people. They don't, because they got a higher rank, to say my idea is right and your idea is wrong. So does that answer the question? So I think what I'm going to do now, because time is basically up, and I've also got a time commitment, but let's just open up to questions, and let's make 10 minutes of questions if there are, because I can be late 10 minutes for my meeting. But let's see if anyone, let's think what you're going to do differently tomorrow. And I haven't heard from most of you. I only heard really from Ben and one or two other people. So let's hear from some of the other people. What are you going to do differently tomorrow from what you've learned in the last hour? Let's see if you have been concentrating.
I want to thank you for such an amazing talk. I feel so pumped and excited about this. I wanted to ask a question, please, regarding, when people have a first impression and usually they want to give you the best side, and it can be false, and then you already hired a person. So I'm a one-man show at this point, and Bezat Hashem, I'm looking to grow the business. What would be the steps to take in order to see if someone is a correct fit, or it's just a false impression of what they're mirroring to me?
Yeah, that's a great question. But I think what you need to do, so let me tell you what I do. So whether I'm a one-man show, that doesn't matter. If you're hiring someone, if you're 1,000 people and you're hiring someone to report to you, you've got to do exactly what you're doing as a one-man show. So interview them, you like them, you get on, they've got good skills, etc. Then take them out for a coffee or a lunch. See how they treat the waiter or the waitress, because so often I've loved someone from their CV. And what the first bit of advice I give you, don't hire from a CV. Don't ever hire from a CV, because CVs lie. CVs tell you the good side, not the bad side. So the first thing you do is you take them out for lunch and see how they treat other people. Because if they treat other people badly, they're going to treat your customers the same way. They're going to treat them badly. Don't hire them. That's number one. Number two, interview them in your office, interview them over lunch, interview them somewhere else. If you only got one person, you can't get 3 people interviewing them. I'd always say if you're a bigger team, have 3 interviews in 3 places at 3 different times or 3 different venues. Then the most important thing to do there is they have worked with other people, because I assume they're not 18 years old. And you need to go and do the reference checks. Now, the problem with reference checks, or the challenge you've got, is hopefully you're going to ask for reference checks. They give you 3 people. Find out where they worked and phone people that they didn't give you. Because if they give you a reference check, it's obvious that person's going to give them a good reference. They wouldn't give you someone to provide a reference if it's going to be bad. So those people are fine. They'll give you good references. Find people they've worked with that they didn't give you as a reference, and find out what they really are like. Find out why they're leaving their previous job. Find out why they left their previous job. Ask them this question, is what I do. I say, based on a 1 to 10, if this person had to leave you, the person that you're looking to hire, a 10 is you absolutely need them, they can't leave. A 1 is they can leave tomorrow, I really don't care. On a base of 1 out of 10, if they leave you, what's the impact on you going to be? Is it 1 or is it 10? If they say 9, 10, wow, he's a good person here. They talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. You're hiring a bozo here, and you've got the wrong person. So yes, they come across well, but I tell you, the references that don't give you are not going to lie. So that's what I do, is I just reference check and reference check and reference check. When I'm making an investment as an investor, they'll give me 3 references. I'll go to all the other. I won't even speak to their references. I'll find other references that they didn't give me. And those are the people that I'll speak to. Does that answer your question?
I'm very grateful to you, Clive. Thank you so much.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for the question. Okay, guys, any more questions? Come on, don't be shy. And it's not a question. What are you going to do differently tomorrow? Or a question, or anything. Comment, question.
Please,
Hi.
Go ahead.
Sorry, someone's saying something?
Can I go, please? I just want to know why is the South African law so difficult when it comes to deciding whether whether to, I hate to use the word, but fire a person? Why do we have to go through so many warnings, and why is it made so very difficult on both sides?
Look, I mean, your point's valid. It's not a leadership question. That's a, regulatory issue and a CCMA issue, et cetera, et cetera. I think, this comes back to, you can only, if it's not in your control, just follow the process. This is out of your control. It's out of my control. We have to go through the, reading them the right act, give them 30 days and then blah, 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 and go through a final warning. Just follow the rules. That's all I can say is follow the rules. We don't set them, but we have to follow them. And there's nothing we can do about these rules. They are barbaric, I'll be honest with you, but that's what they are. And leaders just accept them and move on and follow the process, and so they don't get into trouble. I know I'm not giving you a nice answer, but I've been to the CCMA and taken so many people there, or they've taken me there, and I've won every case because I followed the process and they just were bitter. But because I followed the process, I never, ever, ever was ever found guilty in the CCMA. Other comments? Sorry, Carol? Sorry, there was a comment there. Okay, can we do
any more comments?
2 more questions, comments, if there are?
May I ask one more question, if possible?
Yeah, please.
When we grow and we support the growth of a worker, then he can mirror the business and recreate it. And I know it's a legal thing, but how do we give them tools, but also keep us safe?
Now, when you say keep us safe, what do you mean by that?
I mean, when you give tools and knowledge and you give strength to someone where they can be independent and they can literally then recreate the business because they are very knowledgeable.
Trust is everything. Because if you're hiring people that are going to do that, you're hiring the wrong people. You got to make sure you're not hiring people out there that are looking to copy what you're doing and go and compete with you. And legally, I think you need to sign, restraint of trade clauses if you're hiring someone, just have a restraint of trade clause that they can't go out and do what you're doing for 18 months after that, else there'll be a legal issue. So just protect yourself legally, but make sure you're hiring the right people, because honestly, if someone is going to do that to you, you've just hired the wrong person. And I know some of you make mistakes, but then just protect yourself legally.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, there was a comment in the... Sorry, could someone just read out the question at Destiny?
There's a question here that says, how do you find the right people? Do you use intuition?
You have to. Gut feel. You have to. Your gut is the best feel, because, when I started, when I was a younger leader in my companies, I was hiring 10 people, I was probably getting 9 wrong. When I left, I was hiring 10 people, I was probably getting 9 right. So you have to trust your gut feel, your experience. It's hard. But as I was saying, if you've got a bigger team, let 3 people interview them, do it in 3 places, do it 3 different times, do it with their spouse, do it with another, just so you get a feel for what this person is really like. They also say when you're hiring, you must imagine yourself on a trip to Cape Town and you're sitting next to them, and can you actually manage that trip? Or do you have enough to say to each other? Can you talk to each other? That's always that litmus test that says, these are good people to hire. But hiring people is very, very hard. It really is. And it comes with experience. But if some of the lessons I've given you today is be a lot more, focused and think of some of these things that can go wrong, and don't hire from the CV. Don't let the CV fool you, and do reference checks and do all the things I've spoken about, and you've got a better chance of getting it right. And just most importantly, don't hire fast. I know you're desperate, you need that person, and you quickly go and hire the first person that comes around. And believe me, that's probably the wrong person. It's just a question of when you find them. And then you have to go to the CCMA, and then there's all the other nonsense that goes on. What was there another question?
And not so much a question. There's a comment here to say from Mapolo, to say thank you for a great talk. Currently practicing most of the things you have spoken, taking longer to hire, but sometimes hiring someone who is cleverer than you and just messes up. So she's happy with the talk. Destiny is saying that's a panic buy in a football terms. So yeah.
Absolutely. But everyone, thanks very much. I do need to go into another meeting. Thanks for attending. I really appreciate it. You can get a copy of the deck from the ORT Jet team.